The winter in Chicago was particularly harsh. Outside the window, snow danced from the gray sky, and the cold wind from Lake Michigan blew through the high-rise buildings. Evelyn Morrison gazed at the scene from her 68th floor office window while reviewing documents on her desk. Her desk was adorned with mementos from cases she had won, and the wall proudly displayed her diploma from a prestigious law school and a plaque for the Female Lawyer of the Year award from the Chicago Legal Association. As the youngest partner at Markham Reynolds law firm, Evelyn had steadily built her reputation in corporate law. She had arrived early that morning to prepare for the final stages of a class action lawsuit against MTP Pharmaceuticals. Her meticulousness and sharp analytical skills had earned her respect throughout the firm. "Ms. Morrison, you have a call." "It's your mother," her secretary Jennifer announced through the intercom. Evelyn frowned. It was unusual for her mother Martha to call her office during a weekday. "Can you put her through?" Evelyn answered with a sigh. "Evelyn, dear, are you busy?" Martha's voice carried her usual refinement, but with a hint of excitement. "Yes, quite. I have a trial next week for the MTP Pharmaceuticals case," Evelyn replied without looking up from her documents. "I have wonderful news," Martha said, her voice like that of someone opening a small gift. "Your father and I have decided to go to Hawaii next month. And we'd like you to come with us." Evelyn paused. "Hawaii? But Mom, I'm so busy right now." "I know, you're always busy," Martha's voice carried a slight tone of reproach. "But family time is important too. We haven't had a chance to talk properly lately." Evelyn gazed out the window. It was true she hadn't seen her parents in months. They lived in an upscale neighborhood in Evanston, about a 30-minute drive from downtown where Evelyn lived, but her busy schedule and her parents' social lives rarely intersected. "What about Brent?" Evelyn asked, thinking of her husband. "Oh, I invited Brent, but he says he's too busy with work." "But some girl time would be nice, don't you think?" Evelyn unconsciously twisted her wedding ring. Her 7-year marriage to Brent appeared perfect on the surface. He was a successful investment analyst, and they had no children, a decision they had made to prioritize their careers. Recently, her busy work schedule had reduced the time they spent together. Still, she tried to maintain a balance between work and home. "What about Vanessa?" Evelyn asked about her sister. "Oh, she might come too," Martha answered vaguely. "She seems quite busy with various things right now." Vanessa lived near their parents and worked at the local art museum. She visited the family home frequently and maintained a close relationship with their parents. Unlike Evelyn, Vanessa had never left home and lived a stable life with her parents' support. "All right, I'll think about it," Evelyn promised. "But it depends on how the trial goes." After the call ended, Evelyn sank back in her chair, lost in thought. Her life recently had become nothing but a shuttle between work and home. Conversations with Brent had dwindled, and she couldn't remember the last time they had dinner together. That evening, when Evelyn returned home, Brent wasn't back yet. She took a bottle of wine from the refrigerator and poured herself a glass. The Chicago skyline spread out before her through the living room window. She thought about her mother's invitation. Her parents, Victor and Martha, were enjoying a luxurious retirement. Her father, a former executive at a major pharmaceutical company, had ample retirement funds and investment income, while her mother was prominent in society circles, involved in various charity events. Her smartphone rang, displaying a message from Brent, "Running late, don't wait up." Evelyn sighed. Then she replied to her mother, "I've decided to come on the Hawaii trip. Let me know the dates." The next day, she submitted a vacation request to the senior partner at her firm. Partner George frowned but said, "It's been a while since you took a vacation. Go ahead, we'll manage here." Plane tickets were booked and hotel arrangements were finalized. On the day of departure, Evelyn met her parents at the airport. Victor and Martha appeared in expensive brand-name travel clothes, looking more nervous than usual. "Are you hiding something?" Evelyn asked jokingly. "Not at all," Martha replied quickly. "Just a lovely family trip." As they boarded the plane, Evelyn sensed something odd about her parents' behavior, but she couldn't quite place what it was. Honolulu Airport was crowded with tourists. The blue sky and warm breeze welcomed Evelyn, freeing her from Chicago's harsh winter. Though tired from the long flight, she maintained her composure in front of her parents. "Let's go get our luggage," Evelyn urged her parents toward the escalator. Victor checked his watch and said, "Yes, but there's no need to hurry." Evelyn was slightly surprised by her father's words. He was usually strict about time. On the way to baggage claim, Martha frequently checked her cell phone. "Mom, are you waiting for a call from someone?" Evelyn asked. Martha hastily tucked the phone into her purse. "Yes, just a confirmation email from the hotel." Even as they collected their bags and headed to the arrival lobby, her parents seemed somewhat restless. Evelyn wondered but didn't voice her concerns. As she stepped into the lobby, an unexpected sight greeted her. Standing in the center of the lobby were her husband Brent, who was supposedly busy with work, and her sister Vanessa. Brent wore a casual aloha shirt and khaki shorts, while Vanessa was dressed in a summery floral dress. Both were smiling and waving at Evelyn's group. "Surprise!" Vanessa exclaimed, bouncing with excitement. Evelyn stood rooted to the spot as if her feet were nailed to the ground. "What are you two doing here?" Brent approached and kissed her cheek. His hair smelled of a different citrus scent than usual. "Surprised? We've been planning this for a week. I left work to my colleagues. We wanted to surprise you." Vanessa hugged Evelyn, clearly excited. Her skin was tanned, as if she had been in Hawaii for several days. Her parents smiled with satisfaction. "Surprise?" Martha seemed to be enjoying Evelyn's reaction. "We'll all have a vacation together." Evelyn was still confused but tried to express joy in front of her family. "I'm really surprised. But it's wonderful to be together." On the way to the resort hotel, Victor enthusiastically explained tourist attractions while driving. Evelyn sat in the back seat between Brent and Vanessa. There was a strange atmosphere between the two of them. Occasionally, they exchanged glances over her head and whispered something. "Tomorrow will be a wonderful day," Martha repeated several times. "A special day, Evelyn. What plans do we have?" Evelyn asked. "It's a secret," Martha smiled. "You'll find out tomorrow morning." Upon arriving at the hotel, they were shown to a luxurious ocean view suite with 2 bedrooms, one for Evelyn and Brent, and one for Vanessa. Her parents had reserved a separate room. "I'm going to take a shower," Evelyn placed her luggage on the bed. Brent stood by the window, gazing at the ocean view. Before entering the bathroom, Evelyn was curious about Vanessa and peeked into her room. Vanessa was on the phone with someone. Her voice was low, but Evelyn could hear, "Tomorrow. Everything is going according to plan." Dinner was at a Hawaiian restaurant in the hotel. From the terrace seats, they could see Waikiki Beach bathed in the sunset. The entire family was unusually cheerful, especially Vanessa, who was more talkative than usual. "Evelyn, how's Chicago?" Vanessa asked, tilting her wine glass. "Still busy with work?" "Yes, I have a major litigation case," Evelyn replied. "But this Hawaii trip should be a good change of pace." "You're always so dedicated to your work," Martha said. "But there are more important things in life than work." Brent nodded silently and drained his wine in one gulp. He seemed more tense than usual. "What's the plan for tomorrow?" Evelyn asked again. Her father Victor smiled and said, "We have a special surprise. Let's all meet in the lobby at 9 a.m. After dinner, Evelyn and Brent were alone. They sat on the balcony, gazing at the starry sky. The sound of waves was quietly resonating. "Brent, are you hiding something?" Evelyn asked directly. Brent took her hand and vaguely replied, "You'll find out tomorrow. It's something good." His eyes didn't meet hers. "We haven't really talked lately, have we?" Evelyn said. "Are we okay?" "Of course," Brent said quickly. "I've just been busy with work." "Same as you, right?" Evelyn tried to feel reassured by her husband's words, but the sense that something was off didn't go away. "Yes, we've both been busy." Before bedtime, Evelyn visited her parents' room. When she knocked, Martha opened the door. Inside, Victor was talking with Vanessa. They stopped their conversation when they noticed her. "I came to say goodnight," Evelyn said. "I'm looking forward to tomorrow's surprise." "Evelyn," Victor stood up. "Tomorrow will be a special day." Sweet dreams. When the morning sun began to paint the Waikiki coastline golden, Evelyn was already awake. Her mind had been restless all night. She lay beside Brent, listening to his breathing. Usually, the sound brought her comfort, but this morning was different. She slipped out of bed quietly and stepped onto the balcony. The morning sea breeze caressed her skin and stirred her hair. She could hear palm leaves rustling and waves breaking in the distance. Why did she feel so anxious amid this beautiful scenery? "You're up." Turning around, she saw Brent standing in the bedroom doorway. He had just shaved and was already dressed in a white linen shirt and light beige pants, as if preparing for a special occasion. "I couldn't sleep well," Evelyn replied. "I'm curious about today's surprise." Brent approached and placed his hand on her shoulder. His hand trembled slightly. "You'll know soon. Could you get ready? We're meeting in the lobby at 9. Evelyn showered and chose a white summer dress. As she gathered her hair in front of the mirror, she observed her face. Her eyes reflected the experiences and confidence she had accumulated throughout her life. But this morning, shadows of anxiety were visible too. Right on time, they gathered in the hotel lobby. Her parents were already waiting, Victor in a navy blue suit and Martha in an elegant pastel pink dress. Vanessa was nowhere to be seen. "Good morning, Evelyn," Martha kissed her daughter's cheek. "It's a beautiful morning." "Where's Vanessa?" Evelyn asked. "She went ahead," Martha smiled. "She's waiting for us." A black limousine waited for them in front of the hotel. The interior was quiet, with her parents and Brent exchanging minimal conversation. The view from the car window was beautiful. The blue sea spread out on one side of the road, and lush green mountains were visible on the other. "Where are we going?" Evelyn asked. "Soon, dear," Martha held her daughter's hand. "Be patient." About 20 minutes later, the car stopped in front of a beachside chapel. It was a small white-painted building surrounded by colorful flowers. As they stepped out of the limousine, the sound of waves and the scent of the tide enveloped them. "Why are we at a church?" Before Evelyn could ask, she saw two figures standing at the entrance of the chapel. Brent and Vanessa stood side by side, both formally dressed. Evelyn stopped in confusion. "Brent?" But he had been beside her just a moment ago. Turning around, she saw that Brent, who had gotten out of the limousine, had already moved away from her side and was walking toward Vanessa. Vanessa was wearing a simple, pure white wedding dress. Her profile glowed in the morning sun. "What's going on?" Evelyn's voice trembled. Her father Victor placed his hand on her shoulder and said quietly, "We're going to hold their wedding here." Evelyn's world froze for a moment. She couldn't believe her ears. "What did you say?" Her mother Martha stood before her and took both her hands. "Evelyn, please understand. Your sister is pregnant, and you should divorce him." Evelyn heard her mother's words and almost laughed as if it were a bad joke. But seeing her parents' serious expressions, Brent's apologetic eyes, and Vanessa's expectant smile, she realized this was real. "Are you telling me that my husband and sister have been having an affair, my sister is pregnant, and I should get a divorce?" Evelyn's voice was regaining its composure. "Affair is a harsh word," Vanessa stepped forward and said. She continued with a laugh, "You can do this for me, can't you, sis?" Evelyn stared into Vanessa's eyes. There was a gleam of desire in her sister's eyes that she had seen since childhood. Vanessa had always wanted what belonged to Evelyn and usually got it. Brent stood silently, smiling. His expression showed more relief than guilt, as if he had been set free. "What is this?" Evelyn asked again, this time as if questioning the entire situation rather than any individual. Brent cleared his throat and began speaking carefully, as if choosing his words. "Things haven't been going well between us for a long time. You're always busy with work, and there's been a distance between us." "And I comforted him," Vanessa continued. There was a triumphant ring to her voice. We've been involved for a year and a half. We love each other, Evelyn. Her parents nodded at their words. Victor said, as a family, we want you to understand. This is the best solution for everyone. The best? Evelyn repeated her father's words. My husband and sister betray me, she gets pregnant, and you force me to divorce, that's the best? The air seemed to freeze. The sea breeze disheveled her hair, and chapel bells rang in the distance. Evelyn suddenly regained her composure. Something inside her snapped. A flame of anger enveloped her for a moment, then vanished. What remained was an icy calmness. She relaxed her tense expression and smiled. Okay, don't regret it. The entire family was surprised by her unexpected response. Brent frowned. Really? That easily? If that's what you want, Evelyn shrugged. There's nothing I can do. Evelyn. Martha, confused by her daughter's change, placed a hand on her arm. Are you all right? Perfect, Mom, Evelyn gently brushed off her mother's hand. I just need to think. You have preparations for the ceremony, right? I'll take a walk along the beach. Evelyn was about to leave the chapel. She paused at the door, turned back, and began to say, but then closed her mouth. She added with a smile, you have preparations for the ceremony. I need some time to think, so I'll walk along the beach. As she left the chapel, the remaining family members looked at each other. They began to feel uneasy about Evelyn's eerie calmness. This went better than I expected, Vanessa gave a nervous laugh. I don't think so, Martha said, watching Evelyn's retreating figure through the window. She's planning something. Brent loosened his tie and exhaled deeply. She's a lawyer. Always calm and rational. She probably just accepted the situation. Victor silently looked out the window. He alone hadn't missed the determination in his eldest daughter's eyes. It was an expression he had seen many times in the business world over the years. Evelyn hadn't just surrendered, she was planning her next move. He was certain of it. Evelyn walked along the shoreline and took out her cell phone. Her hand wasn't trembling. Rather, she felt a clarity and determination she hadn't experienced in a long time. She scrolled and found a number. Jim? This is Evelyn Morrison. I need your help. On the other end of the phone, Chicago private investigator Jim Hartman answered, What's up, Evelyn? I don't have much time. There's something I need you to do right away. Gazing at the sea, she briefly explained the situation. Then she outlined her plan. Hartman listened silently, occasionally interrupting with questions. Got it, I'll get right on it, he finally said. Be careful, Evelyn. Thank you, Jim. After hanging up, Evelyn took a deep breath. Under Hawaii's tranquil sea and blue sky, her heart was swirling like a storm. But at the center of that storm was an unwavering determination. She looked at her cell phone again and dialed another number. David? It's me. I have an emergency. The voice of David Clark, a partner at her Chicago law firm, answered, Evelyn, what's wrong? Aren't you in Hawaii? Yes, I'm in Hawaii. But the situation has changed. I need your help. She explained the situation again. David's surprised voice could be heard over the phone. Good Lord. So, what are you planning to do? Justice, David, Evelyn said quietly. And I'm going to make them regret it. By evening, the chapel was bathed in soft orange light. Wind from the sea entered through the windows, stirring the flowers at the altar. A small number of guests and ceremony officials were seated, quietly exchanging words. Most were friends of her parents or Vanessa's acquaintances. Evelyn sat quietly in the back row. During the afternoon, she hadn't returned to the hotel room, spending time alone instead. Martha looked relieved when she spotted her. Vanessa was in the dressing room, making final preparations. Brent stood in front of the altar, nervously checking the rings. The sound of the organ began to play, and Vanessa entered with Victor. She was dressed in a pure white gown, smiling happily. Victor proudly took his daughter's arm and slowly walked forward. Evelyn calmly watched the two of them. Nothing could be read from her expression. The seat next to her was empty. The priest began the ceremony. Today, we are gathered here to celebrate the marriage of Brent Morrison and Vanessa Levin. The ceremony proceeded smoothly. Brent and Vanessa exchanged vows of love and rings. Then, the priest's words echoed. If anyone has objections to this marriage, speak now or forever hold your peace. As the venue fell silent, Evelyn slowly stood up. All eyes turned to her. The smile disappeared from Vanessa's face, and Brent turned pale. Her parents looked at each other, exchanging anxious expressions. I object, Evelyn's voice was calm but resonated throughout the chapel. The priest, with a confused expression, asked, "What is your objection?" I have something I'd like to show everyone. Evelyn took out her smartphone. She nodded toward the door, and a man carrying large speakers entered the chapel. This is my colleague from the office, David Clark, Evelyn introduced. David nodded in greeting and set up the speakers. Evelyn, what are you planning to do? Vanessa's voice was trembling. Just revealing the truth, Evelyn tapped her smartphone. A conversation between Brent and Vanessa began playing through the speakers. The recording was clear, and their voices were perfectly audible. Evelyn's assets are substantial. The only way to seize her inheritance rights is through divorce, it was Brent's voice. We need to convince Dad and Mom to cooperate with this plan, Vanessa's voice continued. They can pretend to be concerned about Sis and invite her to the wedding. I doubt she'll agree easily. It'll be fine. If we mention the pregnancy, she'll give way. Evelyn is always the one who does the right thing. What about our relationship? Will you break up with Karen? Of course. He's just a fling. Once we're married and get Evelyn's assets, everything will be resolved. When the recording ended, the chapel was wrapped in a deathly silence. Vanessa clung to the altar railing, and Brent stood dumbfounded. The guests exchanged glances and began to whisper. Evelyn began speaking quietly. Actually, I discovered Brent's affair 8 months ago. I didn't think it was with my sister. She stepped forward and continued in a composed voice, with my instincts as a lawyer and the help of a reliable detective, I had been collecting all the evidence. Evelyn took an envelope from her bag and spread out the photos inside. Furthermore, I can prove that Brent has also been involved with another woman named Karen. The photos showed Brent and an unknown woman in an intimate embrace. The date was 2 weeks ago. Vanessa turned pale and spun to face Brent. Didn't you break up with Karen? Brent stammered, Vanessa, I can't explain. No explanation needed, Evelyn said calmly. The divorce papers have already been submitted. Brent, you have no rights to my assets. She turned to her parents. Mom, Dad. You supported a daughter who chose desire over blood ties and a betrayer. You'll regret this choice. Martha, with tears in her eyes, said, Evelyn, we just wanted Vanessa's happiness. That's a lie, Evelyn interrupted her mother. You condoned Vanessa and Brent's affair even knowing she was pregnant. My feelings didn't matter to you. Victor bowed his head silently. His shoulders dropped heavily, and for the first time, he appeared old. Vanessa, Evelyn turned to her sister. I don't know if your pregnancy is real, but I don't think Brent deserves to be a father. He's a betrayer and isn't faithful to you either. Vanessa collapsed in tears, pulling away from Brent. I really am pregnant, she said between sobs. Then for the sake of your child, you should reconsider, Evelyn said. Your choices come with responsibilities. Evelyn nodded to David, and they began walking down the central aisle of the chapel. As she placed her hand on the door, she turned and said, to Brent, Vanessa, and my parents. Don't forget today. Honesty and trust, once broken, are the most difficult things to regain. Especially among family. She left the chapel with dignity and headed toward the limousine with David. Another man was already waiting inside, Private Investigator Jim Hartman. Perfect, Evelyn, David said. You were so calm. This isn't the end, Evelyn said, gazing out the window. But it's enough for now. The limousine left the chapel and headed toward Honolulu. Evelyn took out her smartphone and checked her emails. There were several urgent messages from her office. But she wasn't in the mood to respond to them now. "Where do you want to go?" Jim asked. "To the airport," Evelyn sighed. "Let's return to Chicago." "Don't you still have time left on your stay?" David asked in surprise. "My business is done," Evelyn smiled. "And I'm ready to start a new life." The limousine drove along Hawaii's twilight roads, and a quiet resolve was budding in Evelyn's heart. She had recognized her own worth and decided to cherish herself. From the bitter experience of betrayal by her family and husband, she had gained new strength. The sun began to set on the horizon, and the sky was dyed in a beautiful gradient of pink and purple. Evelyn felt a genuine peace of mind as she gazed at the beautiful landscape. 1 year later, Chicago's spring was unusually beautiful. Cherry blossoms were in full bloom in the park along Lake Michigan, and the city was full of energy. On the 45th floor of a high-rise building facing Michigan Avenue, Evelyn Morrison was on the phone in her office with a large glass window overlooking the city. "Yes, there are no issues with the contract. Please sign and return it." She hung up the phone, turned her chair, and enjoyed the view from her office. On the wall shone the new logo of Morrison Women's Advocacy. 6 months after the events in Hawaii, Evelyn had resigned from her previous law firm and established her own firm specializing in women's rights advocacy. Her efforts to support women struggling with divorce and domestic issues had attracted media attention. The door was knocked, and David Clark peeked in. He had also resigned from his previous firm and had become Evelyn's partner. "Lunch is ready," he smiled. Their relationship had slowly developed since Hawaii. David deeply respected Evelyn's strength and integrity, and she had opened her heart to his kindness and sincerity. Meanwhile, Brent and Vanessa's marriage didn't last long. Vanessa's pregnancy was real, but after their son Noah was born, Brent showed no interest in childcare. Furthermore, it was discovered that he was involved with multiple women, and Vanessa filed for divorce 7 months into the marriage. Financially struggling, Vanessa returned to her parents' home and raised her son with their support. Victor and Martha were beginning to recognize their misjudgment. Though they adored their grandson Noah, they were tormented by guilt when they saw Vanessa's situation. They sent an apology letter to Evelyn at Christmas, but there was no reply. On Evelyn's desk, there was an unopened envelope. It had arrived that morning and was from Vanessa. She wasn't ready to open it yet. During lunch with David, Evelyn talked about the envelope. "Why don't you open it?" David gently suggested. "Whatever is written, you're strong now." Back at the office, Evelyn took a deep breath and opened the envelope. Inside were a letter and a photo of Noah. "To my sister," the letter began. "You were right. I left Brent. Now, I want to be strong for myself and my child. I won't ask for forgiveness. But I hope someday we can talk again." After a long silence, Evelyn wrote a simple reply: "It's never too late to become strong. But it takes time to regain trust." She also informed her sister that she had established a trust fund for Noah's college education as a gift for her nephew. Gazing out the window, Evelyn smiled. She had reaffirmed in her new life that true family is not bound by blood but by honesty and mutual respect. Now, she was surrounded by people who truly valued her. Despite carrying the pain of the past, Evelyn continued to walk forward. The spring sunlight brightly illuminated her office, heralding the beginning of a new season.